This video is about tenses. Tenses is one of the most important grammatical areas. Basically, every sentence will almost involve a verb in tense. Okay, in a sentence or in a clause, you have a subject, and then you have a verb, and that first verb, will always either be a verb that has a tense or will be a modal verb. All right, so that means a lot of sentences will probably contain a verb in a tense form. All right, so there are many tenses. Some people would say up to 12 tenses, but I'm not going to go through every single one. I'm going to go through 6 of them, and out of the 6, probably 4 or 5 are very important, especially as it relates to IELTS. Okay, but this video is going to be me going through some exercises first. I'm not going to do it with you. I'm just going to go through the instructions and what you need to do, and then after this video you will basically go and do the exercise, and then there will be another video where I go through the answers. All right, along with this document which I'm going to send you, this is just this is taken from Cambridge Grammar and Use. That's basically the most popular grammar book in the whole world. Okay, it's a blue color book. It's by Cambridge University Press, and it's really popular. Okay, so this is just about 14 chapters. All right, and this doc here, this is like a table of contents, and then you will have 14 chapters. So that's why there's 29 pages. Each chapter will have one. So this is like the table of contents. Then you start with the first chapter, present continuous. Okay, it starts with first instructions about this tense, and basically explaining this tense to you, instructions on how to use this tense, and then the next page will be basically exercises for you to do, and then it goes again, details about this tense, and then exercises. Okay, so that's how it's going to be, and there are basically 6 tenses here. All right, there will be the present simple, and then the present continuous. Then here you have the present continuous and the present simple, chapter 3 and 4. Basically, this these 2 chapters are going to get you to, going to test you on whether you understand the difference between these 2 tenses. Okay, now it's important for you for every single tense. Okay, we're going to go through 6 tenses. For every single tense, it is important for you to know 2 things. Basically, you need to know the form, how to form it, and then you need to know the meaning or the use. There's no use understanding the form and being able to form it, but you're not using the correct tense. For example, if in a sentence you need the present simple tense, but you use the present continuous tense, then it could be wrong. All right, so it's one thing to understand how to form it. It's another thing to understand the meaning. And I always ask my students, when they use the wrong tense, I'll ask them, what tense are you using? Then they'll tell me the tense name. If they know the name of the tenses, you guys should get to know the name of the tenses, at least these 6 tenses. But then after they mention the name, if they know the name, I'll ask them, why do you use this tense? And because they need to know why. For example, why do people use the present continuous tense? And are you using it correctly? The sentence that you want to write or that you are speaking, does that require that particular tense? Okay, you have to understand what is the purpose of you saying something. Okay, so for example, if the present simple tense, the one of the meanings is that it's about something that happens regularly, some habitual thing. All right. For present continuous, it is something, it's in the middle of an action happening, could be happening right now, or could be just in the middle of an action. All right, so these are different. You have to understand the meaning. So if I say I play tennis every week, I'm using the present simple tense. Right, I play tennis every week. So here is the verb, and it's in the present simple tense. Now, why do you use present simple tense? Why not another tense? Because the meaning of the use of the present simple tense is something happens regularly, right? And that's basically what you're trying to say, that this thing happens regularly. Okay. If you were to use I am playing tennis, you are using the verb play, but in the present continuous tense. And can you say I am playing tennis every week? No, you don't say that. When you use the present continuous tense, when you are in the middle of an action, probably you're doing it now. So I am playing tennis. So we use the present continuous tense when we are speaking of something that that you're in the middle of an action, or someone's in the middle of an action, or something's happening right now. Whereas you use the present simple tense if you're talking about something that happens regularly, right? So you need to understand the meaning and the use, and of course you need to form it correctly too. A mistake in terms of formation occurs, for example, now I'm talking about a mistake in terms of understanding how to form it. For example, if you say I plays tennis, that's wrong because you don't use the S for the subject I. All right, so that's the wrong formation. And if you say I playing tennis now, this person is trying to use the present continuous tense, which is correct. He's trying to say that he's playing tennis now, but he is not forming it correctly because the present continuous tense requires you to use the be verb and the verb ing. So he got the verb ing playing, but he did not use the be verb. So it should be I am playing. So these two are important. Forming it correctly, and also making sure that when you use that particular tense, you're using it correctly. You're using the tense that you should be using. Okay, so present simple, present continuous, and then you understand the difference. Okay, if you understand the meaning between both of the difference in meaning, then these two chapters are pretty much testing you about whether you know the difference. And past simple, okay, and past continuous. Past continuous is something you don't normally use very often, especially in IELTS. I think the two or three most common tenses in IELTS would be present simple, past simple. Present simple very often for writing task 2. Past simple very often for writing task 1, either letter writing or your graphs that you do for academic IELTS. Okay, letter writing is for general training. Present continuous, possible, not very common though. You could use it in your introduction to the essay, writing task 2. Okay, because what is the meaning of why do you use present continuous when something's happening right now? And very often we start an essay by mentioning that something is happening, and then this world is something is happening right now. Okay, past continuous, normally use it in together with past simple. Okay, we don't really use it that often. Okay, so you have 4 tenses here already. Okay, and then you come to present perfect. This is present perfect simple, and then this is present perfect continuous, and the rest will be pretty much still on present perfect continuous and simple. And then here, chapter 13 and 14 is present perfect and past. So you have to understand what is the difference. Just now here they tested you the difference between present continuous and present simple because it's very often confused. But here, what is often confused is the present perfect, these two, present perfect simple tense and the past simple tense. Okay, so chapters 13 and 14 will kind of challenge you to understand the difference in meaning. Okay, so these are the 14 chapters. All right, whether you have time to go through all, at least, you may not have time to go through, but at least present simple, present continuous, past simple, probably present perfect simple is something that you should know, and maybe continuous too. Okay, and another document that I'm going to get you to use, and I'm gonna give you and go through with you through these videos, is this document, which is the document I created. It has all the 6 tenses, okay, and I will go through with you. This will teach you how to, this will help you to understand how to form it, okay? So when we talk about the form being important, this whole document relates to the form. Okay, I remember form is just one part of it. You can get the form correct, but you are not using it properly because you should be using another tense. Okay, so now let's just right. So I'm going to go through all these exercises. Remember, each chapter consists of information regarding the tense. It's going to teach you some stuff, and basically you should be reading through and studying this page, the first page of each chapter, very thoroughly. Okay, that means I really mean, if you are facing challenges with tenses, and probably almost every student has a bit of difficulty with tenses, but especially if you are facing a lot of challenges with tenses, it is very important for you to study all these pages. The first part, I would say, read through it, study it at least a few times. Okay, I give my students a lot of homework. Sometimes I give them, get them to do all this, and it's so surprising because they never go through this part, or they just go through it very quickly. And what happens is that in the end, when we go through the exercises, they get so many wrong. Okay, now guys, if this is provided, the teaching is provided here, it's really how well do you want to do. If you're just going to read through this very quickly, there's going to be mistakes. So if you really put your heart into studying this, reading through this over and over again, if you really, really, really put your heart into it, basically every single thing you probably will get right. Okay, so please spend a bit of time going through all this, okay, before you start writing. Okay, that's this is a present continuous. Okay, present continuous is, so the present continuous is basically the be verb plus the verb in ing form. Okay, that is the present continuous tense. Very easy. Be, of course, it depends on the subject. Okay, what be is, for example, if it's I, then it will be am, he, she, it is, we, you, they are, and then the verb in ing. All right, and it also tells you what is the meaning in the middle of doing something. I've started it and I haven't finished it yet. Okay, read through this more in depth. I'm not going to go through every single thing. All right. Later on, as we go to this chapter 3 and chapter 4, where it talks more about present continuous again, you'll learn other things. Okay, you learn, for example, how some verbs cannot be in present continuous form. It always takes a present simple form. It cannot be in a continuous form. Okay, we'll go through that then. All right, so you'll read through this and then start going through these exercises. Each one, there's a blank. Choose one of this. For example, you are working hard today. Yes, I have a lot to do now. So it's work. That's why it's cancelled. And in the present continuous, you are working. Now, guys, if this is all about the present continuous, they are going to get you to apply the present continuous. Okay, sometimes students give me choose this word and put it in present simple form. Firstly, it's wrong. It's probably going to be wrong because the whole purpose of this unit is to test your present continuous. So there's no reason for you to use present simple when you know that this whole unit is on present continuous, but students still do that. All right, so please pay attention. All right, I mean, it's a clue already that this unit is on present continuous, which is actually very easy because in real life, when you start to write your essay, or when you look at people's work, and you know, if you're going to correct either your essay or someone's essay, you need to know how to apply it. It's not, nobody's going to say, oh, every tense is going to be present simple, and therefore you make sure you put it in present simple. I mean, it really depends on the meaning. So every time you're writing your essay, you don't know which tense. You have to find out yourself, right? But right now, it's very simple. This whole unit, it's on present continuous. Okay, so there's no reason for you to get it wrong. You will make a lot of mistakes when you start to write your essay, and then you have to apply. Applying is always more difficult than just doing exercises like this. Doing exercises like this is good. It's easy because you know that they're going to test you on what they taught you here. Okay, so choose one, put it in present continuous form. 1.2, put the verb in the correct form. Sometimes you need the negative. All right, and then this is basically the question. Now, one thing I want you to take note, just now I mentioned it's important to know the form, and it's important to know how to create the form. Okay, it's important to know the meaning and the use. Okay, and another thing is very important in terms. Let's put this under form. Form, you need to know the positive, how to create it in the positive. You need to know the negative. You need to know how to create a question. For example, you say, I play tennis. Okay, or you say, I play tennis every week. This is in a positive, which it's a positive. This person, I play tennis every week. All right. How do you put it in the negative? I do not play tennis every week. Now, do you see how the form is different? It's not just you have to put the do not, okay, or does not, depending on the subject. And finally, how do you do the question? You can question yourself. Do I play tennis every week? So do you see? It's important to understand the formation of the positive, negative in the question. Okay, if you were to say something like, I not play tennis every week, that's wrong. I understand what you're trying to say, but that is not the way you form your negative. If you say, if you ask your question, you play tennis every week? I mean, sometimes that's possible, but basically that's not the normal way of asking a question. Well, people do, say it this way, but basically you should be saying, do you play tennis every week? Okay, so the form is important, and the meaning. And the form, when you think about a form, you need to think about the positive, the negative, and the question. Okay, let me go to this document which I'm going to give you. Okay, so the present continuous. So you see the positive, the negative. This whole document is all about form. Okay, so it really depends on if you're going to use the subjects I and am, you are, he is. Okay, if it's a negative, it's very easy. Just, by the way, we just went through this. This is in the present simple tense. Okay, present simple. We are not doing the present simple yet. We're doing the present continuous. All right. So, present simple, it could be I am playing tennis. And of course, you can't say I'm playing tennis every week, because when you use the present continuous tense, it means right now, in the middle of doing something. So you can't say every week. I mean, you're saying right now. So, I am playing tennis. I am not. Do you see how the way to put the negative is just put a not behind? So simple, right? This is different from the way you form your present simple, which is here. We'll get to it later. You don't just put a not. You only put a not, okay, after if you're using the be verb. But if you say play, you don't say I play not. You say I do not play. Okay, so it's very sometimes when you go from positive to negative, the question, the form changes a lot, and students get caught with not knowing how to write the correct form. All right, we'll go through present simple later, but right now I'm just showing you that for present continuous is easy. Okay, I am, you are, he is, we are, they are, and then the verb ing. For negative, all you gotta do is just add the not behind. All right. And then for question, you switch the positions. Am I playing? Are you playing? Okay, that's very easy. This is the form for present continuous. Okay, so that's the reason why this is all about basic. I think this is in a positive, this whole 1.1. 1.2, sometimes you need a negative. Okay, not always. You have to see, read the whole statement, and basically it's logical. Are you talking about for example, let's do number 3. You can turn off the radio. You don't say you can turn off the radio. I am listening to it. I mean, of course, if you can turn off the radio means I am not, right? So just use your common sense. This will be the negative. This could be a negative or positive, okay? You just have to read through each one of them. And then lastly, I think this is, most of it is pretty much testing your question, okay? All right, question. Okay, so do this. This will be present continuous. And lastly, you can, use one of this, put in present continuous. Let me just quickly go through this, which is going to be the same for present simple and present continuous and pretty much most tenses. Now, you could, when you go to the question form, the question could start with like that, which is your verb. For example, are you playing tennis now? All right. Are you playing tennis now? Yes. Are you playing tennis now? You see the way we create it. Are you? So your verb and your subject, and then the verb in ing form. Okay. But what happens if you can also start a question not just with the verb, but you can start a question with a WH word: what, when, why, how, etc. So when, you can just put it in front and then you continue on with the verb next. When are you playing tennis? Of course, it's not when are you playing tennis now, but when are you playing tennis? Okay, so you could add a WH word before this. Okay, like when are we playing tennis? Where are we playing tennis? Okay, and you realize that if you don't add your WH word, which means you don't say where are we playing tennis, you say are we playing tennis, the answer to that, if you don't add a WH word, the answer to that is a yes or no, right? Are we playing tennis? Yes, no. But if you add your WH word, where are we playing tennis? How are we playing tennis? When are we playing tennis? The answer is not yes or no. Okay, it's the same thing for present simple. You could add your WH in front. If there's no WH in front, WH word in front, then the answer to the question is basically a yes no. Okay, question. All right. The other thing I want you to take note of is AV. Okay, AV is called auxiliary verb. Auxiliary means helping. When you guys go through my top 12 mistakes, you will come across what I say, what I write and talk about modal verbs. Modal verbs you will use. Modal verb is also called modal auxiliary verb because modal verb is a helping verb. Okay, auxiliary means helping. This is not a modal auxiliary verb. This is just a modal verb. It's just a helping verb. Why do you call it a helping verb? All right, because it helps. It doesn't give the main meaning. I put MV here for the main verb. Okay, so this one gives the main meaning. This one doesn't give the main meaning. This is just helps you. Why do you need M? In present continuous is be plus verb ing. The main verb's in the verb ing, and the be is an auxiliary verb. It's just there. I mean, I don't know why you need to do it. It's just the way English is. Which does M give the meaning? No, you just need it to form the tense. Okay, the meaning is all in the main verb here. Okay, so this is an auxiliary verb. Okay, all this, and in present simple later you'll see that the auxiliary verbs come in your negative and in your question. Like when you do a negative for the non-be verb, when you do a negative for play, for rather than saying I play, I do not play. Now this do is not a main verb. It doesn't give you the main, it's not this whole thing is not about do, but you need to use a do as an auxiliary, as an helping to form the tense. Now why? It's just the way it is. Okay, so this is an auxiliary verb. Don't be mistaken that this doesn't really give you the meaning. This, you just need it to form the tense. Okay, and therefore you could also write something like you see, in the present simple, I do not play tennis, and you could, this do is an auxiliary verb, and this play is a main verb, which gives you the meaning, the play, You could also have a main verb as do. So I do not do. I do not do my homework every day. Okay, so if you have a sentence like this, don't forget this is an auxiliary verb. It's just there to help you form the tense. This gives you actual main meaning. Okay, so don't get confused. This is an auxiliary. This is the main verb. Okay, but anyway, going back to present continuous. So this is your for present continuous. Just go through this, and in another video I will go through the answers. Okay. All right, let's go to present simple. Now there's always the question of why do they put present continuous first, and then after that present simple. Maybe they think that present continuous is easy. It's easier to form, which is actually the formation of the present continuous is actually easier, even though probably present simple is a more common kind of verb. But in the present continuous, you just have to put your be verb plus your verb ing. Okay. Now we go to present simple. It's a bit more complex. Okay. Now what I want you to, let's go to my document first. Okay, so present simple, I put it in the first tense. Okay, so now let's understand this, okay, because this is very confusing. All right. Firstly, don't forget, I'm not sure if I mentioned to you, but you always have subjects: I, you, he, she, it, we, they, and the way you form it depends on your subject. Okay, so that's the reason why you have all this. Then we talked about how you have positive, negative, and question, because the way we form it is different, right? We went through how you form the present continuous. For the positive, you just put the be plus verb ing. For the negative, put a not there. For the question, you kind of like reverse these positions. Okay, very simple. Now present simple is more difficult. You have positive, negative, and question, but the first thing, all right, you want to know is that the be verb is special. Okay, be verb. Not many people know that what the be verb is. Okay, when you say I am, the am is called a be verb. Okay, when we say, okay, this is called what you call a verb in base form. All right, base form means the main form. All right, the main form is the form that you do not. Okay, base form is like the main form. When you go to the dictionary and you find out something, you know, want to find a word in the dictionary. For example, if you look at if you say, if this sentence is he played tennis yesterday, this is in a past simple tense, and you want to find this word, a verb, played. Now, are you going to the dictionary and find played? No, you will find the word play. Okay, the main form, the base form. All right, the base form does not have es, does not have the s version, does not have the ed, the past ed, does not have the ing. It's just the base form, the main form. Okay, so be is the so-called the base form of mr is. Okay, we may not know that this is these are called be verbs because you don't look at m in the dictionary, you look at b. Okay, it looks very different from b, looks very different from mr is, right? Okay, that's why it's kind of like special. Okay, so now the thing about this is you have two columns here, two columns. One is this be, one is what I call not be, non-be verbs. Okay, any verb that is not be. All right. Why do I separate these two? The reason is that the way you form positive, negative, question for be verbs in the present simple tense, okay, we look in the present simple tense, and the way you form it for other verbs, non-be verbs, which basically means every single other verb in the entire world, which is not be. Okay, every other word besides be, the way you form the positive, negative, and question is different. Okay, let's look at be verb first. It's very simple. Okay, remember, even though you say you see I am, okay, here is be verb in the positive. When you have I, you put an M. You are, he is, we are, they are. Okay, very simple. Then when you have a negative, you put the not behind. Very similar to present continuous, isn't it? Okay, now what is the difference between I am something here and I am? Okay, let me just go through this. Okay, in your present continuous, Let's present simple. I am happy. This is an adjective, happy. So you have your be verb here. It's your verb in, which is a be verb. How about I am playing, or I'm teaching. I'm teaching. Now, look at this. Firstly, this is using the present simple tense. Okay. Next one is using the present continuous tense. Different meanings, but this looks the same, doesn't it? The am looks the same. But don't be confused. This is the be verb in the present simple. This is present continuous, and this be verb is an auxiliary verb. Remember we talked about auxiliary verb? Doesn't give you the main meaning at all. It's just you just need to. Why do you need be plus verb ing for the present continuous? Nobody knows. Okay, so this looks the same, but it is not. This is in a present simple tense. This is in a present continuous. Which is the main verb? This is the main verb. In a sense here, this am here is actually a main verb. Okay, so don't be mistaken. All right, this has no auxiliary verb. Not for the be verb here. Okay, no auxiliary verb. There are auxiliary verbs here. Okay, so anyway, be verb, this is the main meaning. Okay, so positive, I am, you are, he is, we are, they are. Negative, not, put a not behind. Question, change it around. Okay, very similar, right? But don't forget, very similar to present continuous, but don't forget that this is not, there's no verb ing here. If you put a verb ing here, then it becomes present continuous tense. It's totally different. So this here is all the main verbs. These are all main verbs. Whereas in the present continuous, this is auxiliary. It doesn't give you the main meaning. This gives you the main meaning. Okay. So two different tenses. Okay. Now this is easy. Be verb. It gets more difficult when you try to form the positive, negative, and question for other verbs. Every single other verb. All right. Besides be. In the present simple, listen carefully. I, you has the same form as the base. This is not base, even though base is play, but here it uses the base, but this is actually present simple. Okay, you see that? It uses the same as the base. The he, she, it takes a S. All right, the he, she, it takes a S form, whether it's S or ES or whatever it may be, and then we goes back to using the base, but this is in a present simple tense. Okay. I said it takes the same form as the base, but this is actually called a present simple tense for they. Okay, so this is simple. All of it takes the base form except the he, she, it takes a S. All right, this is a major mistake. When you go through my top 12 mistakes, one of the mistakes is subject verb agreement, and that's where students always forget the S. Okay, now this is when it gets a bit challenging. How do you do the negative of in the present simple tense of other verbs? You do not just put not, right? You do not just put a not behind. You don't say I play not, you play not. No, you use an auxiliary verb. Do not play. Do not play. Now, this is an S here, right? The S goes to the auxiliary, becomes does not. This one goes back to base. This is all in base form. Okay? So don't say he do not plays. No, the S goes here. That's why I put the arrow S here. Okay? The S goes into the auxiliary do, becomes does. Okay? Remember, auxiliary is just it helps to form the tense. There's no meaning there. So when you say I do not play, it's nothing about do, it is about play. Okay, this has no meaning whatsoever, but you just need to use it. You just need to use do not or does not. Does not for he, she, it. Do not when your subject is I, you, we, they. Okay, and lastly, question. The same thing again. You kind of like start with your verb, your auxiliary verb. This time the S for he, she, it goes to the auxiliary verb. It's auxiliary verb, subject, main verb. Okay, that is the way you form the present simple. Okay. This is a way I teach my students sometimes to use this little chart table I have. Ask a few questions. Number one, firstly, you need to know what tense. Okay. Then if it's if you found, I'm going to use because you know the different meanings of the tense. Like I said, present simple tense is something that happens regularly. Okay, so once you found the tense, okay, if you go to present simple now, ask yourself, are we talking about positive, negative, or question? Am I writing a sentence in a positive, negative, or question? Okay. Third, is this a be verb or other verb? Okay. So for example, okay, you say, oh, I'm going to. Well, let me just do the fourth one first. Fourth, what subject, which means I, you, etc. Okay. Okay, so you know it's a present simple tense. Then the next step, you want to say, okay, maybe I'm going to do a negative statement. Okay, so now you can cancel this. This whole part is not relevant. We're just going to focus on this. Okay, and the question is, the way the form is also, we're not doing questions, so it's just about this, negative. Okay, then the next question is it a be verb? Here, where you come to this section, or is it other verbs? Okay, so maybe we're talking about other verbs. Okay, so forget about this section now. Our focus is on this, and then the next question is, what subject? Is it I, you, he, she, it, we, they? Okay, so maybe you say, oh, it's a day. So how do you form the present simple? If it's a negative, and maybe we're going to use the verb kick, and the subject is they. They do not kick. They do not kick the ball. What does it mean? Remember, if you say they do not kick the ball, are you saying that right now this is what they do not do? No, because right now uses a present continuous, so you should say they are not kicking. They are not kicking. So what does it mean by they do not kick the ball? It's not right now they do not kick the ball. No, if you want to say right now, is they are not kicking the ball. They do not kick the ball could mean they do not kick the ball regularly, habitually. I don't know. Okay, I mean it's not a very it's not a sentence that we normally use, but you have to understand that this does not mean, this is in a present simple tense, it does not mean that this is happening now. Okay, all right, it means that this happens regularly. Maybe they do not kick the ball when they are tired, or they do not kick the ball when they like the player, or I don't know. Okay, all right, so you have to not just know the form, but make sure you're using the correct tense. Okay, so this is the way you use this. Okay, it's a bit complex. You will see that for some students it comes naturally, some it does not, and then therefore you need to really logically analyze. Okay, now let's quickly go through this. Go back and read this first section. You see, we use the present simple to talk about things in general. We say something happens all the time or repeatedly. Okay, so habits, regularly. Okay, go through all this. All right, it tells you a bit of form here, but not as doesn't tell you the be verb here. Okay, all right, so this, what I've given you, this document is a bit more complex. Okay, it's a bit more detailed. Okay, so okay, your exercise here, 2.1, pick a word. Remember, again, don't put it in the present continuous because you know this unit is testing you your present simple tense, and then based on whether it is I don't know, negative or positive. I don't think there are questions here. Okay, I think mostly it's positive, but yeah, well, this is I don't often that's negative. Okay, so just put it in the correct form. All right, don't think it's so easy. Okay, some students are, almost all students, after I give them homework, you know, with this, all these exercises, a lot of them still get a lot wrong. Okay, unless you really know it, you're very familiar with it, you grew up speaking good English and your speaking and writing is really good, it's a breeze for you. But if not, a lot of students will find it quite difficult, will make a lot of mistakes. So that's why I say quickly, spend more time going through this a few times, and especially the formation of it, because the formation is where most students will get it wrong. Okay, there's no way that, at least in these two units, you already know what tense to use, so you're not going to use the wrong tense. You're not going to use the wrong meaning because you know it's what tense you need to use. Okay, so it's a formation that you really need to take note of. Okay, and then put in the correct form. Again, some of the not, this is negative, and then you have some questions. So again, this is quite difficult. Okay, because you have to know the positive, negative, or question. Okay, the verb is here, the subject. Okay, choose one of this. Again, could be, I think this is positive or negative, and then this is all question. Okay, and this also. Okay, not so important, but I can tell you 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4 are very important. Okay, basically it's understanding whether you can form the positive, negative, and question correctly. I will promise you many students will get a lot wrong. All right. Okay, so that is Unit 2. Right, let's go to Unit 3. Let's go to the contents again. So we did present continuous, we did present simple tense, and now Unit 3 and 4 basically is testing you as to whether you understand the difference between present continuous and present simple. As I mentioned before, there are two things you need to know about the tenses. First is the form, how to form it. For example, you do not say I plays tennis. Okay, you do not say for present simple tense will be I play. Okay, you don't have the S. And for present continuous tense, you don't just say I playing tennis. You say I am playing tennis. Okay, you need to include the be, which is auxiliary verb, plus the verb ing. So if you write something like this, that's the wrong form. If you write for the present continuous, if you write something like this, that's the wrong form for the present simple tense. But you also need to know the meaning, the use. So there's no use writing the correct form or speaking, using the correct form when you speak, but you are using the wrong tense. All right. So Unit 3 and Unit 4 is going to test you, test you as to whether you understand which tense to use. That's very important. Okay, not just the form, writing in the correct form, but you also need to use the correct tense. Okay, and it tells you a bit more information. Let's go to Unit 3. It tells you a bit more information in the beginning. Remember, the first part, always read the first page of the unit. More information about the differences. All right, you can read through this. But one thing I want you take note of, is now it will actually be mentioned in Unit 4, so I'll mention that later. But right now, so go through this. This is a B section, which I think is mentioned here. Okay. The exercise is in 3.3, is testing you what you learned here. Okay, this B section. It's a bit more advanced. I mean, I would say that it's you don't have to know this, but because it can get a bit confusing. All right. This is what B is trying to tell you is you can say I always do and I'm always doing. Okay, I'm always doing, of course, the present continuous tense. Right? I always do, I do is the present simple tense. All right. Now, there is a special meaning. Now, remember, this is a special meaning of using the present continuous tense. Remember, before we mentioned the meaning of the present simple is something that happens regularly or is in general. Okay. Present continuous is something that's happening now. Okay, the action started before and it has not finished yet. Okay, so that's the general difference, the main differences. But then there are special meanings also, special uses. Okay, even though these meanings, most present simple tense, most of the time present simple tense is used because of this meaning, and most of the time present continuous tense, the present continuous tense is used because of this meaning. Even though that is true, sometimes you have special meanings. Okay, one of the special meanings and uses of present continuous is for the future. Okay, now this gets a bit complicated. You use the present continuous tense to describe the future in certain instances. Okay, not always. Remember, the general meaning is happening now. But for example, when you say I'm playing tennis and you kind of include the future time, like on Sunday, then of course you are not saying that you're playing tennis now. You're saying you're playing tennis on Sunday. Okay, so this is talking about the future, even though you're using the present continuous tense. And there's another special meaning of present continuous which is mentioned here. Okay, so when you say I'm always doing, normally used with the always. Okay, the present continuous tense with the always has a different meaning. Okay, so it's not the same. It's not this meaning. It's not happening now. Neither is it the future meaning. It has a special meaning. It means basically when you say I'm always doing something, it means I do this very often, too often. It's kind of like a negative thing, all right? If for example, you want to wake up at 7 o'clock, but you always wake up at 8 o'clock, and you are very frustrated. I'm always waking up at 8 o'clock. I don't understand why I'm always waking up at 8 o'clock. So it is a sense of frustration, a sense of it's more of a negative kind of meaning, all right? So if your colleague comes to work at 9 o'clock, whereas he should be coming at 8:30, you would say, you could complain to your boss, or you could complain to another colleague, say, oh, he's always coming to work at 9 o'clock. Okay, so it's a kind of a negative thing, and he's doing something very often, too often. Okay, so it's kind of like a negative. It's a kind of like complaining kind of thing. All right. Okay, so that is the special meaning, and this is tested here. All right. So anyway, go through this A and B, and then the 3.1. Firstly, they're asking you read the sentence, the context. Remember, it's very important to read the context, the whole sentence. Is this correct? Water boils. Yeah, we use the present simple because it's a fact. It happens regularly. It's true. So it's okay. So you write okay. The water boils. Can you turn it off? So obviously, this is happening right now. So you don't say the water boils. Boils as present simple. This regularly happens. No, you're saying the water is boiling right now. So the water is boiling. So there's a correction. So you just correct it. Okay. So sometimes it could be okay. It's fine. Okay. The tense and the meaning is correct for that sentence. Sometimes it's not. Then you just change it. Okay. 3.2. Same thing. Either put the correct form, present continuous or present simple, and you are going to have to use the correct form, use the correct tense, and then you may be using it in the positive, negative, or question. Remember, I said positive, negative, or question. There are different ways of forming the sentences in every tense in a positive, negative, or question. Okay, and this is especially for present simple. When you go to the negative, you have to put auxiliary here when you go to the question like that. But for continuous, it's very simple. Negative, you just put a not, and you just change it around. Okay. So for present simple in other verbs, it's a bit more complicated. You use the auxiliary. For here in the be verb, remember I mentioned there's a difference. It's quite easy. You just put a not behind. Okay. So this will be testing whether you know which tense to use, present continuous or present simple, and then you have to take the second step and put it in the correct form. All right. If you say, oh, this is going to be, for example, hurry up, everybody, what for you? So this is happening right now. So okay, the first thing you know, it is present continuous tense. Okay, definitely is in present continuous tense because the meaning of the present continuous is happening right now. So, and then are you going to use it in a positive, negative, or question? Everybody is in a positive. The answer is everybody is waiting for you. Okay, so but sometimes you may have to use the negative or the question. Like for example, this is a question. Okay, so do this. This will be a bit of a challenge here. And lastly, this is based, as I mentioned, on this special use meaning of present continuous with the always. Okay, you need to use always. So always plus verb ing. Okay, just finish this based on the special meaning in B here. Okay. Okay, let's go to Unit 4 right now. So this is just a second part of distinguishing between present continuous and present simple tense. This is what I mentioned before, and I want to emphasize here. Some verbs cannot be used in a present continuous form. All right, so this is this part. For example, you can't say I am liking. You say I like. These are called state verbs, okay? Because when you like someone, it's like a state. Or when you love or hate or when you know, it's a state. Let's take an action verb, say we got state verbs versus action verbs. Okay, so action verbs you could put it, you can be used in present continuous tense, right? And state verbs cannot in present continuous tense. Now, why? Let me just give you an example of a state and an action verb. Okay, so state is just like that, like, understand, know. Okay, action could be something like run. Now, a walk, a run, or hit, or whatever it may be. Now, when you say I walk, okay, when you are walking right now, can you stop walking? You can walk and you can stop walking. Okay, I'm walking and then you stop. Now, so walk is only is an action. You can start it, you can stop it. But when you say know, do you normally know something and then you stop knowing something? No. Most of the time when you know something, you will know it. You will continue to know it. It's a state. You don't know and then you stop knowing something. You don't normally you don't like and then you stop liking something. I mean, it's possible, but generally when you say I like, means okay, you like you're gonna almost forever. It's a permanent kind of thing, right? I understand. You don't understand and then you stop understanding. That's why these are all states. Okay, it doesn't start and stop. The action or the verb doesn't start and stop. When you like, you continue to like. Whereas action kind of verbs, yeah, you can walk and you can stop walking. You can run and you can stop running. So these action verbs can be put in the present continuous form. But when you use a state verbs, you don't say, oh, I am liking this thing. No, you say I like, because when you like something, you are going to like it for quite some time. Okay, so just realize that some verbs cannot be put in the present continuous form, and therefore if you see some of these verbs in the exercises later, it's probably only going to be one tense, which is the present simple tense. You don't use the present continuous tense for these verbs. Okay, so here it talks to you about think, and there are a few meanings of think. Think, if you use think to say believe, okay, you cannot use it in your present continuous. Again, if you believe something, you're not going to believe and then stop believing. Generally, that's not the case. Okay, unlike say you walk and you stop walking. Okay, so this is going to be always in the present simple tense when you use the word think to mean believe or have an opinion. But when you use think to mean I'm considering, I'm using my mind right now, yeah, it can be in a continuous, because okay, I'm thinking where should I go for dinner? Now maybe you think for a few seconds, maybe you think for a few minutes, but you stop after that, right? Do you see that this is something that you can start and you stop? So it's continuous. When you are talking about, oh yes, I'm thinking right now, don't disturb me, I'm thinking right now, you can use a continuous. But if it means using your mind, considering. But when you use think to mean to believe, you don't believe and you stop believing. So as easily as you use your mind to think about something and then you stop using your mind to think about something. Okay, so you understand, if it's a state, this is more of a state. I believe, I think he's a good person. All right, it's not going to be the next five minutes later you stop thinking he's a good person, right? So it's a state. So these, if this is used to mean believe, it's a state kind of the meaning is talking about a state, and therefore you do not use the present continuous tense. But this is not a state. This is actually using your mind right there and then to think about something. All right, so you can use this in a continuous. Okay. This is another special thing. He is selfish. He's being selfish. A bit more advanced. You can look at this if you want. I mean, there are some things which I don't really think is necessary for you to go to learn, but you can just make sure it doesn't complicate things for you. Okay, you can read this. He is selfish versus he is being selfish. He is selfish means you're talking about generally that his personality is like that. He's being selfish means, oh, his personality may be very kind. He's a kind person, but right now he is being selfish. Okay, it's right now, then only. Okay, do you realize that he is selfish is using the present simple tense? And there's a present simple, this is an adjective. Present simple tense is talking about something that regularly happens. So if you're saying that this person is a kind person, you're going to use the present simple, he is kind, because he's basically always kind. That's his personality, his character. Whereas he is being selfish is more the continuous. Right now, he's kind of acting out of his character. He's normally kind, but right now he's being selfish. Okay. Now, if you don't understand this, don't worry so much. Again, some of these verbs, you normally use it in the present simple, not continuous. All right. And you can go through this, okay? But the main thing is really to, whether you know this, it's not really important, okay? So same thing, is this correct? Put okay. If it's not, write out the answer, okay? And same for all this, you get to choose. Present, again, this, you see, you have to understand the question form. All right. You're going to use present continuous, you're going to use present simple, and you're going to put it in the correct form, positive, negative, or question, okay? And same for this again. All right. Choose present simple, present continuous, and positive, negative question. This 4.4 is basically this part, okay? You can do that. But 4.1 to 4.3 more important, okay? Okay, next, this tense, which is the past simple tense. So past simple, what is the meaning? What is the use? The use is use this when the action is over. It's finished. It's done. Completed. Okay. If it's not completed, if it's still going on, then you don't use this tense. All right. So you very often you need to use this tense in your task 1 for academic and general training. For general training, your letter, you normally use, not always, but sometimes you use the past simple. For academic, task 1, depending on the graph and whatever you get, the chart you get, the diagram you get, most likely you may need to use past simple tense. All right. And for speaking, definitely you will probably need to use past simple in speaking part 1 and 2, especially 2. Very often you need to use the past simple tense, okay? And the mistake for most students is that they don't really use the past simple in speaking or in writing, okay? So make sure you use it, okay? I don't know, maybe for some languages you don't have the past simple tense. You don't have all these tenses. That's why English may prove to be difficult for some students, right? Okay, past simple, you can go through all this. Generally, okay, let me go to this worksheet, my own worksheet. My own tables for you to understand. So past simple, do you see that this format for past simple is very similar to present simple, right? You see present continuous, there's only one part here, but here you have the be verb and a non-be verb for present simple. In the same way, you have the be verb and a non-be, okay? Because be is always very special, okay? Now, so be for past simple, I was, you were, he, she, it was, we were, they were, okay? It's very simple. For the negative, you just put a not. And for the question, you just, change this around. Okay, very simple for be verb. Okay, then it comes to what you call regular. Regular verbs are verbs that are generally when you to get the past simple and to get the past simple and the past participle. Okay, just be very careful here. Past simple. Let me show you this table. All right, I've added this I've added this list of irregular verbs to the end of this PDF. Now, as I was saying, you have so the past simple, there's the be verb, okay, went through that, how to form it, positive, negative question. And then I mentioned there's regular verbs. There's regular and there are irregular verbs, right? Regular verbs are where, in order to create the form for the past simple, you just put D or ED, depending on the word, and then it becomes the past simple, right? Just like that. Play is a regular verb, right? So all you need to do in order to form the past simple is put the D or the ED, and then becomes the past simple, right? And then for negative, you come across auxiliary verb, you put a did not, and then this one returns to the base form. Okay, so did not play, not did not played, right? And then for the question, you just put the auxiliary verb first. Did I play? Did you play? And all that. Okay. Now this is for regular verbs. And I mentioned this because some of you may be familiar when you were in school, coming across various people will say, various teachers will name this differently. This could be the base verb. This could be the past simple. This could be past participle. By the way, infinitive here is the same as base. Some teachers prefer to use base. I use base. Infinitive has the same meaning, okay? But it's the main form. As I mentioned to you before, when you go to the dictionary, you only want to use one form. You only look out one form. You don't look out every single, the ed form and the ing form. No, just one form. That's called the base form or the infinitive form. Okay. So some teachers will say, oh, this is verb 1, verb 2, verb 3, because you have 3 columns. Okay. So basically, verb 1 is the base form. Verb 2 is the past simple. Verb 3 is the past participle. Now, past participle is not a tense. Okay. This is a tense. Past simple is a tense. Okay. This is part of the 6 tenses that I'm talking about in this video, right? So now, but these are irregular verbs. Why is it irregular? Because you don't need to know the regular form. Okay, that's why they always give you irregular. Like let's take a look at break. Okay, what is a past simple? Broke. B-R-O-K-E. Do you realize it is not B-R-E-A-K-E-D? That's the reason why you have regular and irregular. For regular verbs, all you need to do to form the past simple tense and the past participle is just put a D or ED. So for the word play, it will be play. That will be the base form. Then it will be played, the ED form. And then the past participle will be played. You see, it's so simple. For regular verbs, all you gotta do is put the D or the ED. Okay, so they're not gonna put a list of all these regular verbs and how to form the base, the past simple, and the past participle because it's all the same, D or ED at the end. So they only give you a irregular verb list because you don't know how to form it. It's irregular. It's not the same way. You don't always just put D or ED. So for break, the past simple is broke. You put an O there, and the past participle is broken. For go, the past simple is went. You see, it's totally different. It's not ed, it's not gold, and the past participle is gone. All right, so it's very different how you form the past simple and the past participle. That's why it's called irregular verbs. It's not just putting ed or d behind. Okay, so anyway, what I want you to know is that's how to form the regular. You just put ed. Okay, irregular, you have to come to this list. Okay, past simple, and most of you probably already know. Okay, because you've used these words in the past simple a lot of times. Okay, so that's it. And of course, if it's irregular, you just put ed here. I'm sorry, if it's regular, you put ed. If it's irregular, you have to come to this list. But what about the negative for irregular? You don't care about the ed or whatever it may be. You just put the auxiliary did not, and then you put the base verb. So it goes back to, so for example, if you want to put go, okay, for go, all right, if you want to use it in the past simple positive, okay, you would say something like, he went to the store yesterday. Okay, so you need to, this verb, it's irregular, so you don't put ed, you don't put gold. You have to come here and look at the past simple is went. Now, if you want to put it in negative, it's the same, right? You use the he, you have to use auxiliary did not and then the base verb. So he did not go to the store yesterday. And then for the question, did he go to the store yesterday? Okay, so for irregular, the positive, you just have to take the form from here. But for the negative and the question, you use the auxiliary did not plus the base verb. Did subject plus the base verb. Okay, so I mentioned space here. Okay, all right. So let's go back to, so this work, this whole table is important if you're not sure. Let's go back to unit, past simple. Okay, unit 5. So you can go through this, whatever I just said. Many verbs are irregular, so write becomes wrote in the past simple, which is all in the list at the back of this PDF, right? And it tells you how to form the questions and a negative, okay, which is basically, if you understand how to use this, it's all here. All right. Okay, remember, I just want to go through, when I went through the present simple, I asked you a few questions in order to use, that you need to know in order to use this list, because some students don't know how to use this list. Firstly, I asked, okay, firstly you have to get to know the tense. Okay, which tense are you using? Which meaning do you need to use? Okay, so if you know it's a present, if it's past simple tense, okay, then after that, okay, first you need to know the tense. Then after that, you need to find out, okay, you could ask yourself, firstly, is this in the positive, the negative, or the question form? All right. So if it's in the positive, then okay, you're using this. Forget about negative and question. If it's a negative, okay, we are not using this. We are going to use this. Okay, and so on. Then the third one, third question you need to ask yourself is, are we using a be verb or other verbs? Okay, because be is special. So if you are using the negative and you know that you're using the other be verb, so okay, you know that this is the table that you're going to use. Okay, and the last question, what subject? Is it I, you, etc.? Okay, I or you or he, she, it, or we or they. All right, then if it's you, okay, then this is the way to write this. Okay, now 2 or 3 you can do this first, and then after that, this is up to you. Okay, doesn't really matter, right? So that's the way to format, and they've done their own, they've got their own little table. It's exactly the same. Okay, it's exactly the same. And then they give you the B, because see the B, you see the way they give you this table and this table is different because B is special. Okay, that's why I separate B and other verbs. Okay. Okay, so 5.1, go through this. It's based on this. This is what typical. That's why this person uses the present simple tense. All this is in the present simple tense because it's a typical. I do this. I wake up at 7. After that, I have my breakfast. Blah blah blah. Okay, but right now, yesterday was a typical. That means okay. Now let's talk about what she did yesterday, and which is exactly the same as what she normally does. So rather than using get up, which is in the present simple, you use got up. Okay, get is it's an irregular verb. That's why you don't just put an ed. You have to go to this. Get becomes got. Okay, got. All right, and then next one, have is present simple. So what is the past simple of have? It's irregular too, so you don't put HAVED. You don't just put a D. You have to go back to the list behind because it's irregular. And you should know this already. Have, the past simple is had, HAD. Okay, HAD. Okay, so it could be a mixture of regular and irregular verbs. If you're not sure, regular, just put the D or ED. Irregular, you got to go to the last page here to find out the irregular verbs if you don't know. Okay, so she had. Okay, then continue on. Just putting all this in the past. Okay, whether it's present simple, whether it's this is all in the past simple. Sorry, whether it's positive, negative, or question. But I think it's either positive or negative here. You don't have a question here. Okay, then pick one word, put it in the correct verb. This is all past simple. Remember, we're all using past simple. And then, so this is going to be positive or negative. I don't think there's a question. And this, then it will be a question. You could use a question form. Okay, all right. And lastly, also put the verb in the correct form, positive or negative. So they don't test you the question, but here they test you the question. Look at the question marks. Okay, so that is past simple. All right, that is past simple. Now, do we want to this is past continuous. I'm not going to go through past continuous because I think you have to master the first 3 tenses first, and I will do follow-up videos, but I don't want to overwhelm you right now. Past continuous is past continuous, present perfect. Present perfect, after past continuous, you will see that you go to the present perfect, which is important. But focus on these 3 tenses first, okay? Master them, then I will have follow-up videos for the rest, okay? If you do this, just chapter 1 to 5, and it's going to take a lot of time. Just these videos of introducing all this and, going through my tables and all that, I would say you should listen to it at least 2 to 3 times, okay? And then go through this. Also read, you have to go through all the first part, reading the instructions and information about how to use the tense and all that, okay? Remember, get the form, get the meaning, and form, meaning, both very important. And form, you need to know how to form it in the positive, the negative, and the question, okay? All right, that you have to master for present simple, present continuous, and past simple. That will be the start. All right.